Hey everyone, it's Michael, Goosebumps fan. I hope you're doing well today. I have been so waiting to get this review series ranking video over with. I'm so done reading Goosebumps Werewolf books. A lot of them have been decent. A lot of them have been big surprises of things that I've never read before, but I've seen like the TV adaptation of and stuff before. I have really wanted to get this done because there's been quite a few disappointments, especially recently. Of course, the last couple of reviews I did were pretty rough. Anyway, moving along. I have taken forever to do this. Of course, this werewolf review-a-thon has been done with two other Goosebumps YouTubers. I'll also link down in the description area for you guys in case you want to check them out. That would be Goosebumps Completionist and Monster Blood, aka Austin. I want to thank both of you guys for doing these reviews with me. I know it took me like another 2 months to catch up to where you guys were basically done and reviewed all of these books and uploaded them and whatnot. This is a ranking video, as I've said, and as the title says. You probably clicked on it because it said it was a ranking video. Anyway, this is going to be ranking 10 Werewolf Goosebumps related books, and that's pretty much it. There's technically 11 books sitting beside me. I also recorded this video mostly, and then I realized I was missing Werewolf in the Living Room, and I had to go find that in my collection, bring it back over here, and put it back in, because I'm an idiot. Anyway, yeah, where to start with? I feel like I was going to tell you something. I've been so busy here lately, I want to apologize for delaying this and delaying the previous couple of reviews I had to upload right before this. I've been busy with the move-in for this new house. Of course, you have a new background and stuff. This is like the third background we've had on this channel. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope it feels homey and cozy and all kinds of good stuff because I feel at home and cozy and all that good stuff we just talked about. I hope to get a lot of cool reviews out for you guys here. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to the actual Goosebumps ranking. I want to thank all of you guys for sticking around. We've now hit 1620 subscribers. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and enjoying the content if you are. I want to thank you for supporting me and sending a lot of encouragement and stuff in the comments section. That's really cool. And again, check out my two friends, Goosebumps Completionist and Austin, down in the comments or in the description section of my video. I really hope you guys will enjoy their videos. They make videos just like I do, unedited, just a guy on a camera, and I really like that kind of thing. That's what YouTube used to be. Let's make it like that again. Anyway, moving along, let's go to book number 10 on my list. That would be the most recent review that I did of all of these books. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't remembered a lot of things about a lot of these books, especially the Choose Your Own Adventure books. You know, those are the Give Yourself Goosebumps series. Those can be something that if you don't review them and talk about them almost immediately after after you've read them and reviewed them as a main review on the channel, you forget some of the things about it. So some of these are going to be hard to remember a lot of details of. If I get something wrong, forgive me, but I think I've got a general grasp going through these and reviewing some of these things again, and I say re-reviewing in the sense of glancing through them again. I don't remember every detail. I'm not going to talk in depth about all these books, but I hope you enjoy this so far for this series. This includes the classics like Werewolf Skin and Werewolf of Fever Swamp that a lot of people love those and their episode adaptations from the old 90s TV show. We have the GYG Choose Your Own Adventure books that I talked about a moment ago. We have comic books. We have comic adaptations. We have all kinds of stuff here. This number 10 spot is the bottom of the barrel. It's pretty rough. And I think after my review of the last couple of books for All Day Nightmare, and for this, it'll kind of surprise you about one being rated higher than the other, and then this one ending up on the bottom. This is the recent IDW comic book release of Goosebumps Secrets of the Swamp, which is a sequel, not directly, but a sequel of the area, location, whatever, to Werewolf of Fever Swamp, the very classic Goosebumps book that many people love from the 90s series. It was a very popular one, great episode adaptations I reviewed here on the channel, and I know a lot of people love it to death. This is supposed to be an adaptation of that. Not an adaptation, it's a direct sequel, sorta kinda, not with the same characters or anything like that, but the characters are kind of bland in here. Most Goosebumps characters are. It just doesn't really have a story. It just kind of, things just happen, you know what I mean? It's not really a plot line type of thing. It's just a new girl moving into a new town with her aunt that she's going to visit, and she meets some friends that are all big video gamers like her. They play this game called Lore Hunt, and werewolves might be on the woods in Fever Swamp, where they happen to live. And it devolves into just garbage. Basically a non-R.L. Stine feeling story that just wastes your time, and it wasted my time. It took me about an hour to read this book. Surprisingly enough, this is a 6-issue book and not like 3 or 4 issues like the previous 3 that came out, and it's kind of almost better than the other 3 books, but kind of not. It's still like my second favorite. I think Witch House might be the favorite of the 4 that have been released that were not that great to begin with. Anyway, this is written by Marieke Nijkamp, and the art is done by Yasmin Flores Montanez. The art is actually decent in here. That's about the only thing given in the saving grace. And that's about it. Everything else in here sucks. The main characters are rude and awful in here. They have no personality, which at least a lot of Goosebumps characters do. You have rude main characters in Goosebumps when Stein's writing it. You have rude side characters and enemies and stuff that are rude, and that's fine. This is just bland. You know what I mean? It's just, there's nothing here but the decent art sometimes, and that's about it. And it has some comic covers in the back when the single issues were coming out. I don't really care about collecting that, but they're there. Anyway, spot number 10 belongs to this, and deservingly so, in my opinion. Anyway, moving along to spot number 9, that would be Goosebumps Graphics Presents, and this is technically volume 4 of that series. There were 3 original volumes. This one is done in color. Those were done in black and white. Slappy's Tales of Horror by Dave Roman, Gabriel Hernandez, Ted Naife, or Naife, I don't know, and Jamie Tolagson. Now you might wonder why a Goosebumps Slappy book is in this werewolf review-a-thon. Well, this is one of them that I talked about as well. And this, like I said, is in color. It's basically, there were 3 Goosebumps volumes of Goosebumps graphics, and they were pretty cool. I like those. They have one story from each of those volumes in here, probably the best out of all those bunches. They had The Shocker on Shock Street, adapted by Jamie Tolagson. Those are adapted basically directly from the novels, and they're really good. They're great. The art is really good. There's 4 stories adapted in here. You have Shocker on Shock Street by Jamie Tolagson, just like I said. Gabriel Hernandez adapts Werewolf of Fever Swamp, which of course is a werewolf book. I reviewed this and the black and white one. Their black and white original volume is in this collection as well to talk about in the ranking system. That one's really great. Shocker on Shock Street's really great looking and just fun. The problem with Werewolf of Fever Swamp is that it's in color here, whereas in black and white in the original way I read it, it looked much better. Just overall, it looked better, it felt better for the tone. The coloring here, it kind of kills it a little bit, just a slight bit from what I remember. Ted Naife adapts Ghost Beach, which I like that a lot. It doesn't look as good in color, but it's okay. I'll take it, whatever. Then you have Dave Roman. I made a big old long rant video about this book because of Dave Roman. He adapts Night of the Living Dummy. Yes, the original number 7 classic book from the 90s of the old series, Night of the Living Dummy. He adapts it to this kind of art style. Not the scary, creepy, realistic-looking art of like the Scarecrow Walks at Midnight adaptation from one of the other volumes or any of the ones that were in this book. Not that kind of style. He does a cartoonish, newspaper-style looking art, and it sucks. They changed some things in the story, like the mom is a single mom all of a sudden. She's the one who brings Slappy to the house and not the dad. It's weird, some of the stuff they chose to do here, and it sucks. It's terrible, and it's an insult to that terrifying cover that all of us love that Tim Jacobus made years ago that scared so many of us. It just sucks in so many ways, and it just took everything in me not to put this near the top, because I love the other 3 stories that are adapted here. This one is just so bad with Dummy that I can't, in good conscience, forgive myself. As much as I rated this one higher compared to the other Goosebumps graphics books a lot of the time, when you see those reviews, if you go watch those individually, I really struggled to not put this higher up because I like the other 3 story adaptations. Even with the coloring in here, it doesn't ruin it entirely. It just kind of kills a little bit of the interest in the mysteriousness of the story, the way the tone feels of the stories. But at least they feel like R.L. Stine. But Dave Roman's story version of Not a Living Dummy looks like it's, again, like a comic book from the newspaper. It sucks. It's horrible. It ruins that story. It's embarrassing. It's truly embarrassing. I mean, honestly. I hate it. It's a book that I will always keep in my collection, but I doubt I'll ever read again. I just probably won't because of how rough this was. That is what it is. That's book number 9. Moving on to book number 8, we have the last of the Give Yourself Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure type of books. This is book number 42, All Day Nightmare. Like I said, choose your own adventure type of story. You go through, you read at the bottom of the page, it'll give you a couple of different choices to make to go to the next destination somewhere else in the book. And you just kind of make decisions, and this one is not dedicated as much to werewolves as it likes you to think. This one is a confirmed ghost-written book. This is mostly a focus on what I forgot to mention in my book review for this book the other day, was that it has a lot of Secret Service, like, secret agent type of stuff mixed in there, with also, like, not just that, but also like a UFO alien type of thing. You know, you basically wake up in a mansion, or a house or something like that, and you don't know where you are, and you run into another kid named Max who doesn't know where he is either or who he is. You're both amnesiacs of some sort. And then on top of that, it's like, you just go through the situation with the aliens, and possibly you're a secret agent, and it sucks. It's not fun, it's not enjoyable, it's not silly, it's not over the top in the cool way that it should be. I just don't like it, plain and simple. And the werewolf storyline is basically a hunter just walks in the building and starts threatening you with 2 wolves that she's walking around with, and it has a couple of things going for it, not much. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. I'm not really enjoying this one. I put it pretty low on my rating for it when I reviewed it, and it is what it is. Anyway, let's go on to book number, let's see, that's 10, 9, 8. This is book number 7. We have Goosebumps Series 2000, number 22, Full Moon Fever. I love the cover. The book is not that great. You kind of start off with basically a story of a kid and his sister going to their grandpa's house, like I think it's during summertime or something like that, or Halloween. It's around Halloween time, I believe. And they are telling campfire stories and that kind of stuff, and basically just... I keep losing fragments of what I'm trying to think of. I'm having a hard time retaining the information because of how bland some of these books are. This one, it just kind of evades me. It's kind of a werewolf Halloween type of thing, but kind of not. They hear about this thing called Full Moon Fever. Their grandfather tells them about it. It's not really a werewolf book. It's not really said. It's not just from being hinted of possibly being a werewolf type of thing. It is what it is. I don't really hate the book, but I certainly don't love it, if that makes sense. It is what it is. It's just okay. It has really a rushed pace to it. Most of this book has nothing going on in it, and it doesn't really. It's not satisfying. I'm at a loss for words, is what I'm trying to say. It just doesn't really work for me. It ain't a hard hitter, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Full Moon Fever. That is at spot 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, moving on to number 6. We have Goosebumps Series 2000. I'm trying to find the number here because it's not on the spine because it's covered with a thrift book sticker. Whatever this is. Anyway, Goosebumps Series 2000, The Werewolf in the Living Room. This one is basically about a kid whose dad does cool exotic trips and stuff to capture exotic animals or whatever. He's like a werewolf hunter apparently, and they think they capture a werewolf and they bring him back to the house. They keep him in a steel cage in their living room. And it was okay. Kind of like with the Series 2000 thing, it's kind of dark. The ending was not the greatest here. There's some choices with the story that I don't really like. Not a big fan of some of it, gotta be honest with you. It was a quick read, and it goes by pretty fast. Again, kind of a rushed feeling. I was kind of surprised by how many of the werewolf books feel kind of rushed. But this is one of them, and it was kind of a shame, frankly. But I don't really have a whole lot to say about this. It wasn't a bad book. I just think it was not the greatest, honestly. But it was okay. It was fine, I guess. This is kind of where we start getting into the fine territory of books that I don't hate at all. I just don't love and cherish immediately. Let's see. 10, 9, 8, 7... 6. This is book number 5 right here. Give yourself Goosebumps number 5, Night in Werewolf Woods. This one I actually remember enjoying relatively. It wasn't the greatest. It was just an okay, fine, decent book. This one is basically you and your parents are going on a vacation, and your parents' friends are coming to meet you guys too with their son who has a pewter collection, whatever that is, some kind of like small figurine type of thing. And the kid's a nerd, and a bunch of bullies when they get there, like kind of beat him up, and they take his pewter collection and run away. The only thing I really remember about this book is like being an underground storyline. It wasn't the most engaging book, but it was kind of cool being underground and seeing things like dinosaurs or seeing things like the werewolves coming after you and stuff like that. It had some cool things to it. There was another storyline in here that I do not remember what it was about whatsoever. And like I said, a lot of these choose your own adventure books kind of divide up with a fork in the road situation where they go, if you take a left turn, you go all this one storyline that kind of follows through has a bunch of choices tied to it, or if you go right, you have a bunch of story choices that go to this other storyline that's completely different. You don't really have something I remember as well, aside from the underground storyline, but it was okay. This book was fine. It deserves the number 5 spot, I think. It was very middle of the road, just kind of okay. Moving along to book number 4, we have Goosebumps Graphics, which I talked about the one book over here, Goosebumps Graphics. It was supposed to be volume 4, but it's not. It's technically not. There's no real new adaptations. It's just color added to some of the stories that were stolen from these first 3 volumes. This is the original book, including the original version of Werewolf of Fever Swamp by Gabriel Hernandez that I really, really enjoyed. This is Goosebumps Graphics Volume 1, Creepy Creatures. Of course, these are comic book adaptations of the original novels. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed this. This has some good stuff in it. You have Werewolf of Fever Swamp by Gabriel Hernandez. Again, all of these are in black and white. And 2 out of the 3
2 out of the 3 look really great. They have beautiful, serious, dark tones with the artwork really complementing that in a lot of ways. That's what artwork should do in comic books, in my opinion. And a lot of the time it doesn't happen. You have, at least every time I pick up a Goosebumps graphics book, there's always one story that's adapted that sucks in the adaptation that I might even like the original novel. Werewolf of Fever Swamp by Gabriel Hernandez is really great. Scarecrow Walks at Midnight might be my favorite out of the whole thing by Greg Ruth, or Ruth. I think it's Greg Ruth. The other story in here that kind of tears it down a little bit, just made me not want to put this at like number 2 or 1 or anything like that, was The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena by Scott Morse. It looks like the art from Bone, the comic book series Bone, and it ruins that story. It really ruins it. If you had done the art from any of these other styles of these 2 adaptations or from the other 2 volumes that were released after this book came out, that art style could have been something you could have improved on to make Abominable Snowman of Pasadena a better story to take hold of and do something cool with. It's not that great. It really wasn't. But the rest of this book was really good. I really enjoy most of this, especially Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. It had some really cool stuff. Werewolf of Fever Swamp, again, is a werewolf book. That's why this is on the list. It's a cool one. I enjoyed. I really like the adaptation they did here, or that Gabriel Hernandez did with the art and with the words from the book into here. It looks good. The tone is preserved there, and it just feels right. It feels like R.L. Stine. It feels like classic Werewolf of Fever Swamp book feel. It has that dark tone to it. Anyway, moving along to spot number 3 on our list. This one surprised me that it hit as hard as it did. I really enjoyed this book. I can't remember how much of it is dedicated to the storyline I'm about to tell you. There might be a secondary storyline I'm not remembering properly. I feel like I'm sliding off the couch. Forgive me if I'm going out of frame. Anyway, this is another Give Yourself Goosebumps book, the final one on the list. This one is number 31, The Werewolf of Twisted Tree Lodge. This is a really good one. I really enjoyed this a lot. I talked about it and raved about it in my review for it. Excuse me. Basically, you're the main character in this book, like you always are in Choose Your Own Adventure, Give Yourself Goosebumps books. And essentially, you are going to this big party at a house or a mansion type of thing. I always have in my head it's a mansion for this storyline, for whatever reason. You go into this place that's really nice to meet a bunch of horror writers, and it has a lot of cool little things in here that I really enjoyed as a horror fan of books and stuff. And basically, you're going in here to celebrate this short story that you wrote or whatever. It turns out that you plagiarized it. You have not admitted to it, but you have plagiarized it. And when you get to this place, it turns out these horror writers and stuff are a lot of different monsters and whatnot, and it is a fun story with a really cool little message about plagiarism and how it's wrong, and of course this is a kid's book series. It's a very important story for people to hear in general when they're younger. This one is really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Really enjoyable read. I just can't use the word enjoy enough when I talk about this one. Again, Give Yourself Goosebumps number 31, The Werewolf of Twisted Tree Lodge. If you haven't read this before, you should pick it up and read it. It's a really good one. If you like werewolf stories, there's not a whole lot of a focus on that entirely. It's there, but not extremely. But there's other monsters in here like vampires and zombies and all kinds of cool stuff like that. I enjoyed the crap out of this. It was a blast. Anyway, Werewolf of Twisted Tree Lodge. I have not looked at my review for this to see if there's anything I'm forgetting or if there's a secondary storyline. I don't think there was for this book. I think it was just mainly focused around the plagiarism storyline. But I could be wrong. There's some other kids you meet in the house, or at least one of them you do. He kind of pops up here and there. Different things happen with that. This is a really fun one from what I remember. I enjoyed it. It deserves its spot on the list as far as I know. Again, I really enjoy comic books. I wanted to give Volume 1 of Goosebumps Graphics a higher rating than this, but I couldn't do it. Not from what I remembered of having fun with this, just the small memories I have of it. Anyway, moving along to spot number 2. These 2 classic books are tying up for the top 2 spots on the werewolf ranking for the review-a-thon. I had a really hard time deciding which one I wanted to put above the other one. I enjoyed, like I said, quite a bit of these werewolf books. I enjoyed them to some extent. Even if it was just decent, that still means I enjoyed them. In this case, this is one that I struggled a lot to put at number 2. I have both cover versions here for the reprint, which you probably know already which one it was and which one it wasn't. This is Goosebumps, The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. I always grew up on the TV episode. I never read the book until this year. And it's a really solid one. Of course, I have the original cover right here on a hardcover copy that I have. And it's a beautiful looking cover. I love that one. This one cover, not so much with Brandon Dorman's version. But this original cover from Tim Jacobus looks great. The book itself is phenomenal. It's a really good one with some really good twists in there. A really great ending. I really enjoyed it. It's
It's one of the more solid, really satisfying original series from Goosebumps, or books, I mean, from the original Goosebumps series, or just in general across all these years that it's been coming out. This is one of the most satisfying ones they've ever put out, that Stein has ever put together. It's probably one of the best werewolf stories I've ever read in my life. It's one of those ones like Silver Bullet from Stephen King that I just never thought would be able to do something new with werewolves that was actually worth watching, or reading in this case. This is really solid. If you haven't read this before, you should check it out and try to get your hands on it. It's a fun, cool read. The TV adaptation from the old 90s show is a two-parter, and it's great too. It's worth your time. It's really worth every second you spend on it, I promise you. Anyway, that is The Werewolf of Fever Swamp on spot number 2 on my werewolf ranking. Spot number 1, as you can probably tell, is the other classic series book called Goosebumps number 60, Werewolf Skin. Man, oh man, this was such a surprise. I enjoyed this so much. I don't remember if I rated this higher than Werewolf Fever Swamp, but this is so good. This is a hard one to get your hands onto because it's one of the last ones. The original series has 62 books. This is book number 60. This is a very craved for book, and it's one that I would even like to get a secondary copy of just to like take on, I don't know, vacation or something. If I take vacation during the fall or something. This is technically a Halloween book, you know? Surprisingly, there's quite a few Halloween Goosebumps werewolf books. This is one of the really good ones. Basically, a kid's going to visit his, I think it's an aunt and uncle, out in the middle of the woods somewhere that has, like, you know, no real lights and stuff on the long roads they have to take to get to their house through the town. And the kid mentions that he wants to be a werewolf for Halloween. And his aunt and uncle freak out about that. Really bothers them. Now, there's a whole urban legend kind of feel to the story, just slightly. He meets a friend out in the woods, and that was pretty cool. There's some cool things happening here that I really, really like. I think it has a lot of cool pluses to the story that just make it a dark read. It feels like we're right when we're on the borderline of going into the Series 2000 era of Goosebumps, where we have a lot of darker stories, a lot of darker tones and darker endings. This one ends on kind of a dark note. I wish this was back in being a reprint, because people would love this. Kids would love this if it came back out, man. If you put out those Goosebumps tins, you know, the metal tins of books, if you put this out there, man, people would buy it in a heartbeat because of how bad people want this book, especially kids who haven't read this yet, or people in general who collect and haven't read this yet. Werewolf Skin is a phenomenal read. It deserves the #1 spot, in my opinion. It is absolutely my favorite of the werewolf books. The more I think about it in hindsight, the more I remember different things that happened. I remember my wife and I went up to her dad's not too long ago to, you know, help him out with some stuff he was dealing with, and I read this over the night. Like in a couple of hours I read this. I burned through this book so fast. I loved Werewolf Skin. It's such a fantastic read. It's enjoyable. It's crazy. It's over the top. Has some fun, creepy things in it. Some kind of predictable things, but that's kind of common with Goosebumps and Stein in general, so it's not a big issue to me. But this is really good. If you haven't read Werewolf Skin, man, you're missing out. Yeah, spot #1 goes to it. Anyway, folks, that is the ranking of the Goosebumps Werewolf Review-a-thon books that I've talked about here on the channel. I want to thank Goosebumps Completionist again, and I want to thank Austin, aka Monsterblood. I have both of their channels down in the description section once again in case you want to go check them out. They make videos just like mine with no editing and all that other good magical stuff that Goosebumps and YouTube has become. We're like the good old days of YouTube, like I said. So, we have fun here on the channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you'll subscribe if you like werewolf books, or in this case, Goosebumps Werewolf books, because it's all I've talked about for months now here on the channel. Now you have the hound dog over here in the next door, you know, howling, whatever that would be that he is doing, woofing, I don't know. Anyway, what did you think about these books? What do you think about my list? What did you rank these? What would you put it down in the comments, please, so I can find out what you think about these. What do you think about my listing? Do you think I ranked something too high, or do you think I ranked something too low, or do you think I'm too harsh on certain books, or what? Is the Werewolf series your favorite series of Goosebumps type books out there compared to the dummy stories or the zombie stories or anything like that? I think the zombie books I like more than the werewolf stuff, personally. There's a lot better ones out there, in my opinion. But anyway, what do you think about all that? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below, folks. And I want to thank you for being here once again and watching my ranking and rambling and tangents and all that other good stuff. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support and the encouragement down in the comment section. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that this whole 2-month or 3-month fiasco of trying to read these as fast as I could in the midst of a move and everything else. I hope you enjoyed these, and I hope that I didn't keep you waiting too long. I hope to get around to Goosebumps Slappy World 5th Grade Zombies, the newest book from that series, soon. I've already kind of started it. I'm like halfway through. Really enjoying that one. I can't wait to talk about it sometime soon. I hope it keeps being good. Please keep being good. I don't want to jinx it. I probably already have. Anyway. What are your thoughts about all these werewolf things? Put them down in the comments once again. Thank you for watching. God bless you guys. Have a good week. And goodbye.